21st. I don't even know what day of the week.
Wednesday.
Ready, Sheila? Everybody ready?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to bring this Southern Shores Planning Board meeting to order, please, November 21st, 2022. You all will stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry.
Okay. I don't see any changes that I'm aware of on the agenda. Do you have anything, Wes?
No, sir.
Could I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'd make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Jan. I'll second it.
Could we hold off 1 second?
What?
Are we having approval of the minutes at all?
Yeah, you might not have gotten the updated.
No, I didn't get the update. Okay,
Yeah, it's
then,
in there because,
yeah, I see it now. Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair, the other small packet that I put, because you came and picked yours up before it was revised.
Yeah.
So I set that, you should have that at your.
This one has it, this one doesn't. I'm good.
Gotcha. And then also, Mr. Chairman, I would just say, in case there's anyone listening or watching on YouTube, that the variance application that was scheduled to be on this agenda has been moved, rescheduled to a special meeting date where the board will meet on December 1st at 1 p.m. to consider that variance application.
okay, thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Okay, so motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Okay. Moving on to the minutes. Everybody get a chance to take a look at them. Any corrections? Anybody? They were
Yeah, most
pretty
of,
lengthy and quite thorough.
yeah.
It's all about signs. I didn't even find a typo in there. So,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 19th, 2022 meeting.
okay, thank you, Tony. Can I get a second? Ed seconds. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay. Wes, can you just briefly highlight what the approval of APA 22-01 order entails?
Yes, sir. The order is the written decision that the board made in APA-2201. And it has to be approved per North Carolina general statutes. It must be approved by the board. So tonight it is before you. 3 of y'all who are here participated in that vote. So only the 3 of y'all could participate in approving or modifying or rejecting this order, this draft order. So this effectively serves as the written decision. Once it's approved, it will be sent, once it's signed, Vice Chairperson DiBernardo would sign it since he presided over the meeting. Once you all approve it, the town clerk would sign it, and then it would be served to the applicant and the property owner, and that would be the written decision. And that starts the 30-day clock for them to file a petition in Dare County Superior Court if they so choose to do so.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It was prepared by the town attorney. It was reviewed by the board attorney, Mr. Jay Wheelis. And it was also provided to Mr. Casey Varnell, who represented the applicant at the meeting. Mr. Varnell had two suggested revisions, and the town attorney rejected them.
Okay, so basically what we're doing here is we're not here to relitigate, or any of the above.
That's
We're
correct.
here
That's
as
correct.
findings of fact
That's correct.
and conclusions of law have been made in this document. So as far as I can tell, just looking at the last paragraph on the last page, where it says, therefore, based upon the foregoing findings of fact and conclusions of law, it is ordered as that the zoning administrator's decision to deny the applicant's application to recombine lots 8 through 11 of the property at 55 Skyline Road, Southern Shores, North Carolina, parcel 022867000 should be and is hereby affirmed. Is there any discussion on this order before we take a vote? I'm gonna. This should be in the packet. Maybe you're looking at the ZTA. Where's your tonight's packet?
This is what's here.
Maybe I grab his. Robert. It's this thing right here. You got into the wrong packet.
Because I wasn't there at the meeting.
Hold on. Where's your packet?
This is my packet right here.
That's next. That's the appeals packet.
Oh, okay, well then, all right, I got it. It's, this is yours,
Yeah. Yeah, there.
so this is Robert's.
Any-
I'm up with you now.
Okay. So basically, we're just taking a vote, and it's Jan, Tony, acting as chairman of the Board of Adjustment, and you sitting on the Board of Adjustment as well. You three will vote to approve this order affirming decision of the zoning administrator. And if you vote in favor of it, Tony will sign it, and it becomes a legal document. So I'm gonna call for a vote. If there's no discussion,
The only thing I'd say is it is a true and accurate representation of the hearing.
yes, I think it is myself. I wasn't here, but I watched the hearing on
Yeah.
YouTube. So you three that we're serving as the Board of Adjustment will vote to approve this order, and Vice Chairman DiBernardo will sign it, and it becomes a legal document.
So if it's appealed, what goes on next?
Well, let's go ahead and take the vote and get that out of the way. But
Okay.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
3 in favor. Mr. Fink isn't here. He was sitting on the board. And who else were we missing? No, that was sitting on the Board of Adjustments.
Linda Burek.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Linda. Yeah,
Linda.
Yeah, so 3-0 is a quorum.
3 out of 5 is a quorum, yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Okay, so that has been approved, and Tony will sign it, and that is official. So back to your question, Ed,
Yeah, how does this play out now? He'll, assuming he's going to appeal it, maybe he does. What happens then? Are we involved in the appeal, or is it just the judge?
A judge, based on my limited knowledge on having appeals go to a superior court, my understanding is that it would be reviewed by a judge, and that part of the review may include the board's review. But I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's how it will play out.
Minutes of the board review, or?
They'll be given, the judge will be given everything that constitutes the record, as well as the written decision.
So we won't be having to appear?
I don't believe so, no. I don't think so.
Yes, probably just an administrative.
I would have to,
Superior
I
Court
I would
law
have to be, yeah, I would have to be
Yeah,
there.
sure.
But I don't think the board would have to be. But
You have done your job sitting up here, I think.
All right.
yeah, I think that, in some cases, a judge will look and see if the board acted arbitrarily or capriciously. But if you like, I can ask Board Attorney Jay Willis. He's going to be at the December 19th meeting for another variance application that we have received. So if you'd like to have him give a little briefing on that, I can add that to the agenda.
And when does the 30 days start?
The 30 days, the 30
For
day
the
clock
appeal,
for
if they-
the appellant, for them to appeal it to Superior Court, the 30-day clock starts the day that it is served to them. And I've already confirmed that we can either do it via electronic mail or you can do it via US postal mail. And they chose electronic mail. So that means the day that I do that, let's say if I send it tomorrow, the 30-day clock starts tomorrow.
Well, if Tony signs it and the clerk signs it, then you can send it.
Correct.
Okay,
Tomorrow would be the earliest, and I aim to do that
right,
tomorrow.
okay.
I will prepare and sign a certificate of service saying this is on this date. This is the decision being brought forward to the applicant.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's move on to old business, or it could be new business, but it is a discussion of potential commercial design standards. This probably won't be our last time we talk about this at all. I just quickly looked at our zoning ordinance, section 36207, the general commercial district. And Wes, correct me if I'm wrong, but we basically have no design standards
That's correct.
for commercial buildings.
That's correct.
The closest thing that I found regarding any design standards was in the group development of commercial buildings, the earlier development of just commercial buildings like the Marketplace and Southern Shores Crossing. It had a minimum size of 2,500 square feet, and all buildings constructed within the 35 feet of another building within the development were to be connected by a breezeway. And then they had something in there about the garden center, nursery, central nursery. And then there was basically that same language for the group development in the mixed use that went forward. So not much there as far as design standards in Southern Shores. So, John, you had written the board some inputs. You want to go over that with us? What,
Sure.
and anything else that you want to add to what you put out there before?
Well, generally, I think communities adopt these standards for one or two reasons. One, they want to project a certain look, like, Cape Cod, the Nantucket look, or a Caribbean look. We're way past that.
You got it.
So at this point, I would say it would be more of a protective measure where there's certain things that you don't want. I wouldn't want the planning board to have to go through everything like Nags Head did. I would not wish that upon you.
Yeah.
Because I might sit that out. And I think there's a couple of big things that could be addressed. And the two things that I mentioned were trying to keep big block buildings, like the old Kmart, which was just nothing but a rectangular block, have a little bit of style. I think if you look at Home Depot or Lowe's, they have certain things about them which make them decent looking for what they are compared to what exists in other places. The one thing, deal with the big blocks, and the other is maybe have something that says there's certain styles we're not going to approve, like whimsical designs, or if you don't want pyramids or, things that you may not want. But I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
You had pulled a couple of things from the Nags Head ordinance. And one of them was wall elevations and roofs greater than 50 horizontal feet in length shall have no more than 40 horizontal feet without a roof variation. And you kind of see different versions of that with Kildouble Hills and Nags Head and Duck. But I think that's got some merit. The front and each side of the building windows shall comprise not less than what you picked out in Nags Head was between 10 and 40% of the let me see, let me go back here and say, on the front and each side of the building windows shall comprise not less than 10% and not more than 40. Ducks said 20 and 50. I can't remember if Kildouble Hills has got it in there too, but and then the in Nags Head once again, the roof design shall screen the visual clutter of typical rooftop installations such as any mechanical equipment, so on. And then you finished up your statement saying to prohibit certain styles which are not compatible with existing development. As much as I would say, yeah, utopia, that sounds good to me, but I'm not quite sure how we can legislate what we would deem as incompatible. I mean, the Sugar Kingdom comes to mind. Yeah.
Can we limit the size of the building to be no greater than 10,000 square feet?
I think so. Not residential buildings, you can't, but commercial buildings, I think you can. You could have different requirements for different size structures.
I mean, I like the idea that they had to submit like a sketch view
Yeah.
of what they were going to.
And that was in Nags Head.
Yeah.
And that makes,
Right.
that would be something that I would like to see us definitely
And,
advocate for.
and saying that, is that also something that we can ask Saga when they put together what they're going to build there to give us a sketch view? I mean, how do we go forward? I mean,
Yeah,
we're sitting
well-
here now and we have somebody that, came to us to build.
Right.
And we're looking now at architectural design. So how much weight do we carry in saying, okay, we want to start today to put a little bit of say because we have these areas now that are starting to be developed?
Well, Wes, I mean, what is your take on how our discussion leads to something that staff would put together as in the form of a ZTA?
Right. So if you all feel that we should have commercial design standards that address commercial buildings, then I would just ask for you all to give guidance as to what you would like to see in a zoning text amendment, and then it would be brought to you all you all would consider it and make a recommendation to council, and council would ultimately adopt it or revise it or reject it, like any other CTOA. But as to your question, like if we wanted to ask Saga to submit a sketch or a draft renderings, we don't have the authority to require it, but we could, ask for it and see if they want it, if they would oblige. But we couldn't hold them up just because they said, no, we'd rather not. We're just going to submit all at once.
What about color scheme?
That's as of right now anyway, but if we adopted a procedure or if we were to have a ZTA go through, that can be part of it, saying prior to submittal of a site plan package, the planning board shall review sketch drawings of the proposed structures or something to that effect, if that's what you wanted to see. I'm sorry, Mr. Lawler, what was your question?
Color scheme. Like Sensations or some of those big buildings down in Nags Head, they're just all different colors.
Mhm.
I mean, what's your take on limiting commercial color scheme? I mean, I think of that, and I can't remember what it's called, on the causeway on the left-hand side going to Manio, all those little shops
Yeah.
that are sitting on the marsh. What,
Oh, they're all different.
Oh, yeah.
Bahama, you go by it every day. What is it called?
Well, it's changed. I mean, I think there's
It was waterfront shops at one
Yeah.
point.
I think there's a bar, I think there's a beauty salon in there. There's a
Pizza
like a,
place.
Jamba Juice, like some sort of like juice and cafe
Yeah,
type
yeah.
building
I mean, it
or use.
turns over quite a bit, but
Yeah.
man, those things are painted, every one of them's a different color. I mean, what's your take on controlling color scheme?
I think, like we've seen in the examples that we have here, I mean, they address colors.
All the residential has color.
Well, that's Covenant.
It's Chickahook, not
Yeah.
the Civic Association. It's
Well, it used to
Chickahook.
be. I mean,
Yeah, many years, yeah. But the color schemes, I don't see any problem with it, but then a color scheme, like I said, one of the towns has pastels or
yeah.
something.
Mhm.
A pastel to you and a pastel to me.
Yeah.
It's, I agree that we should limit, but that's going to be a bear to tackle.
Well,
Any color scheme.
One thing is, you've got to, if you went with pastels, but if you have 5 pastels on one building,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, maintain, if it's a multiplex, a lot of.
So does that come into play when you ask for a rendering or a sketch and they supply the color and then you say, well, yes, but no, as far as the color, or, I mean, would that carry any weight?
I think we'd have to do some type of, regulation on, for instance, how many colors could a project, I mean, does it look like an Easter egg basket going down, or do we say you can only, say where Tropical Smoothie is, what is the name of that? Official
Sandy Ridge Center.
Sandy Ridge. Say if those shops, rather than being all brick, wanted to do 5 different or 6 different color schemes across the facade of that, and we could regulate it and say, you're only allowed 2 color schemes.
Yeah.
And I mean, that would be a way to,
Or if you're more than 2, then you have to stay in the family of the grays or blues or
yeah,
greens.
sure.
In other words.
Yeah, but it's just,
Yeah.
it's
Tough.
It's tough. But I think it's doable. In the commercial, it wouldn't be so much in residential. But I
You
mean,
know who seems to have, at least to me, that place down there where the bookstore is and What's the wine store?
Trio.
Trios and
Trio.
Pony
Right.
Abode,
That-
where they
that's
all
a big-
kind of went,
Commercial development, side by side.
but it's
Mhm.
very
And
iconic.
it
It blends,
pulls together.
yes, it,
And that's what I think would be best for around here. It's very, you don't go, it's not like hitting one of the big boxes there in
No.
Duck that just pops up and puts itself right on the road.
Well,
Or,
you already
Question.
have Town Bank.
Yeah.
You could use that as, design for the rest of the area to go into
like-
grays and blues.
yeah.
and
yeah.
Residential looking.
Mhm.
mullion window. Don't put so many mullions.
That's
Wes,
true.
I mean, I think we're in agreement that we would like to control the multiple variations of exterior paint schemes.
Have a
How do
standardization within a section. In other words, like they have where the owner that owns the Trio Shopping Center, it's the same owner. And he always maintains the same colors. And so if you have a section, maintain the same color.
Mhm.
Didn't Aston Properties say they were going to make everything the same after they're done?
I don't know. I don't know if I recall that. But I do recall that they were going to be working on the entire shopping center in phases. But
Yeah.
if they did say that, I just don't recall.
But they're not required to. I mean,
But they're not
yeah.
required to.
yeah.
But something like that, if you can make it all one section.
Can you pull up those pictures I sent you? I just went by real quick at lunchtime today and banged out 10 pictures. And,
Do you want them in any specific order or just the way?
it really doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know if you can
That's
zoom.
ugly.
But, I mean, it's a wings,
Yeah.
but it could have been a heck of a lot worse.
Yeah.
And Duck fought and fought and fought. And you probably were in on some of that, weren't you, John? The wings, was it the county?
I think that was before Duck Incorporated.
The first one was the first one burned.
This was the rebuilt one.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is a
rebuild.
rebuild. I just took it today. But, I mean, if you took away wings, and we didn't know that was a wings, they've taken a block building, they haven't done their job as far as getting that wall up high enough to cover the HVAC units up top. But the building has breaks in it. From what I am reading in the Duck ordinance, they got too much glass. Because I think Duck said between 20 and 50% glass. That sure looks like a whole lot more than 50% glass.
It'd be better if it was not so right
Sure.
in your face. I mean, have a building that big,
Mhm.
it should be like a formula for
Well,
the
that's-
road. How, if you're this wide and this tall, you gotta be that far away from the road.
One of the things with the glass here, and I don't know whether they did, which would have to be careful, is the calculation for the total building. If the calculation for the glass is for the total building, it probably.
No, Duck speaks to
To front.
horizontal surface across the front and side. And I'm not quite sure how they would have gotten that by unless they were building back the way that it was. I can't remember what the other one, if it looked like that when it burned. But anyway, I mean, all that aside, and I take your point, Ed, it's definitely, but it can't go but so far back or you'll be in the sand.
No,
Yeah.
so therefore the site would,
Yeah.
the building should be smaller for
True.
that site.
But the fake little pop-out roofs and the canopy roof there, it just adds some architectural interest that certainly doesn't look bad at all. It's just, it's too close to the road, like you say.
Scale.
Let's see, Wes, I can't remember how I ordered these things. Yeah. Now, that building is attractive for a commercial building. It all blends from one end to the other, but if it had each one of those doors, or if they painted it wildly different, I mean, it's yellow down on one end, it's got some gray, but it blends in well.
And all the units are hidden. And all the HVAC units are hidden.
Yeah,
So,
exactly, yeah.
those are the things that probably can start as a standard, right?
But it makes it look like there's a second story on it, which Steamers has that one little pop out. I'm not sure what it is to the west of Steamers there, but I doubt that's, it's not habitable space.
Is there, what is that? Can you have habitable space above commercial?
So at Steamers, yeah, there's right here by these windows, on the second level, there are seats there.
Yeah.
And then it kind of wraps around where
Yeah,
the seats are outside, and then the steps go down.
yeah.
Could it be living space? I mean, like apartments?
Multifamilies allowed, and then we also allow mixed-use group development.
So you could put apartments above the commercial.
In mixed use group development, which we just went through, is you can put residential above commercial,
That's correct.
the way the ordinance is written. But that's an example of a pretty good sized commercial operation, albeit to me, it's like overkill to the max for parking area out there. And thankfully, the state is relaxing some of their parking standards, but that's a nice looking building for a commercial building. And it sits well on the property. But another example of, there's a lot of that in Duck, that look, from the waterfront shops. They're really unique, but everything ties in, and there are several little shopping areas, not quite as big as that, but that almost look residential when you're first looking at them, and they blend. So, I mean, that's something that we certainly
Yeah.
need to try to be able to incorporate in any design standard that we would do.
Well, that might be the thing to do, is to say, to go towards a residential look, whatever you're
But
proposing.
how do you describe that and put it?
You'll know it when you see it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Well, I think it's the overhang, that you require a certain overhang on the building, and that your front door maybe is recessed, so it doesn't give you that continuous,
Yes. Mhm.
long block
Yeah.
look. And those things can be,
and covered
Written down.
walkways.
and covered
Covered
walkways,
yeah.
yeah,
And then if you had
and offset.
residential, you would have functional dormers and things like that.
Yeah, well, they're all decorative. There isn't
Right.
anything above. I mean, there's access up there, I'm sure, but nothing above. Can you go to the next one, Wes? I think it was just, I was kind of making a statement about maybe screening stuff. And the ironic thing is,
Yeah.
I wish Mike Stone was here to see the front and back of his property. But that would be a good reason to screen garbage cans, because those garbage cans are looking out at someone else's property. In this case, the same owner owns both. But anyway, I don't know what that dumpster's doing sitting out on the parking lot. Let's see, can you
Yeah,
go?
so can a dumpster be set in a parking space of a parking lot?
There's supposed to be a dedicated area for,
Well, in their defense,
Usually it's screen dedicated area.
just to the right of that,
it's where they usually,
there's a enclosure for two dumpsters, but not three. So,
What is in the enclosure?
uh,
That looks terrible.
well, like I said, the owner was just here 20 minutes ago. And then, once again,
That's been there forever.
what is that? That would be, whatever it is, I'm not questioning whether it's legal or not, but it needs to be screened. And that would certainly be something,
What?
the electrical, can you zoom up on that?
Well, that's probably with a wastewater system.
No,
Yeah.
is it? There's a big extension cord going to that, food truck.
Yeah, but I think it's
Is that
probably.
the pump station?
Pump station.
Okay.
The kind of.
Well,
power you'd have to-
Whatever it may be, that would certainly need to be
Yeah.
screened. I mean, just
Yeah.
case in point, I'm not picking on.
Well, especially,
spending, but-
especially the box in the back. I mean, what's around it looks like if somebody sneezes walking
Yeah.
by, it's gonna fall down.
Yeah,
And,
anyway,
Yeah,
you don't have to call Kevin on that. Wes.
That should be stainless steel, those
Oh,
panels.
yeah. Okay,
that could be a catering truck too. I think.
Yeah, that's
well, it may
okay.
well be,
Yeah,
or a food truck.
Yeah.
That, I'm not sure.
yeah, it's been there forever.
Yeah, it has been, I know. I mean, people don't sit in there and eat supper.
No, they don't sit out in that.
Okay, you can go to the next one. Now, this is a prime example of what I don't think we're looking for
No.
in residential standards. And there wasn't a stinking thing that the town could do to control the Alamo up there.
Nags Head has the
There's no
same
architectural
spitting image of
design.
it.
No,
Mm-mm.
none.
No, it's about the only plus I can see is I couldn't see the HVAC units up on the roof. But it's just a flat wall. It's got breaks in it. It could look a lot better. But it's just an example of kind of, if we can take the same amount of space and have some type of design standards and make that look better. I mean,
Well, I think that's where you would have to come up with some kind of formula, say if you've got so much linear frontage.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta have you can't have just one straight
well,
line.
if you look at Ducks and Kyoto Hills, Nags Head's got it in there too. And that would not be built in those three towns. I don't think, because of what they've got in
I think it's
standards.
something very similar to that in Kill Devil Hills, where the knitting store is, and then there's that poke bowl. There's,
That's Nags Head too.
is that?
It's the same
nice?
owner.
Yeah, and it looks very similar.
Is it
to
same
this.
owner as this? Well, I mean, we could even, go as far as saying it's gotta be wood or composite, no brick. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Could you say we're not gonna allow brick moving forward?
Well, I think, one of the other examples said you couldn't use metal. So what's the difference?
Yeah.
What about block? Brick and block? You're not gonna allow brick. How do you get to the store like, all these big things are usually done with block.
Yeah, I know. I'm just,
One of the towns allows T111. I forget which one it is.
Ooh.
And I found that amazing. I'd have to look and find it, but it was like T111.
but that could be a lot more pleasing to the eye if it had like, a roof
Yeah.
canopy across there. I don't know. I mean, once again, not picking on the owner of that shopping center. It is what it is, but that is obvious that we had no input as a town
Right.
on the design.
Even those columns
Same.
today could be, made wood,
Yeah,
and that would break it. And like you say, put a awning or something on every other one,
Mhm.
just to
Yeah.
give it a different
Yes.
look.
And NAG said, use of cinder block, brick, stucco, and T111 is acceptable,
mhm.
which I.
Yeah. Well, and
So I
there's,
think that's something that we have to address as far as what is
Mhm.
acceptable and what's not.
Yeah. Can you go to the next one, Wes? Sandy Ridge. Zoom in on that little sign off to the side there. It's a neighbor of yours, Ed.
I know.
For clarification, that is on town right of way,
The sign,
the IV therapy sign?
You asking me?
Yeah.
It might be in Kitty Hawk's jurisdiction, but that's, I don't know.
it's landward of the.
It's right there on the town line, runs just on the north side of
Yeah.
that path.
I mean, it's just an example of an off-site business sign that I think we're trying to regulate the best we can. I mean, it could be anybody's sign. It just happens to be IV therapy. And I have seen them spring up on town right of ways before and have actually told you and Cliff about it and they've been dealt with. So
I think that's actually state right away.
it may be, yeah.
And the line, the Kitty Hawk Southern Shore line is like right there. But
Mhm. All right, can you go to the next one?
Ooh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Let's see, yeah, there we go. Now, if you go from our left to the right, you got green and, yeah. I mean,
Green,
it's
blue,
just,
tan, and red.
Huh. yeah, can you go, slide it back that way, yeah. And that's what we're up against.
Yeah,
That's gonna be there a long time.
yeah.
And to me, bringing customers in, if I was a merchant there, I would be jumping up and down at the people that own that and manage it and say, curb appeal needs to step it up here. But
They got that when they took out all the trees.
yeah, as far as us saying, okay, how many different colors can you put on a facade like that? I think we need to explore ways of controlling the number of colors. I mean, because there's nothing that says that the food line couldn't be pink and, CVS could be, orange and just bang, bang, bang.
Well, that's what we were saying earlier, is that, with an expansive, horizontal expanse, there are things that have to
Yeah, breaks, certain breaks.
break it up
Yeah.
visually, and color-wise, color scheme. Get it together, figure out, pick a color.
Yeah.
Or pick a family, a
Mhm.
family of blues or
Yeah.
a family of grays. Because you have a dark gray, a light gray, and then a dark gray and a light gray.
Yeah. Okay, I think there's one more, might be two. Wes. Okay, this is at the other end. Looks like,
That actually
that
looks
building
better than
looks,
That it did, but it used to.
yes, it does. That building looks so much better
Yes.
than
Yeah.
what we just saw. And they didn't have to do a whole lot. I mean, they just put some breaks in it. They've got a lot of windows. They threw an awning in here or there and got a nice looking
Yeah.
green roof. I mean, it's still a box.
They broke
But-
that corner up, which is,
How do we legislate, saying that we want our stuff to look better? This is a challenge.
So now the question is, does that entail renovations as well as
Yeah.
new construction?
That, absolutely. And the renovations have to match the existing.
Right.
It would be, I mean, and at least one, if not two of those towns had that in there, that the renovation had to match. I mean, there was, Duck had some language about arcades. I'm not quite sure what would constitute an arcade. I mean, it's not like a pinball arcade.
Yeah.
It's, an annex or something, but anyway, okay. And then the last one, I think, shoots back down, that way. So,
And that whole area needs painting. I mean, it is just so deteriorated.
Yeah.
So how do you approach an owner and let them know that the board has come to a decision that they want a review, a sketch review upon further renovations? I mean, can that be done?
I think,
yeah.
Yeah, that can be done. Yeah.
So I think,
If they want to, when they get to a point where someone comes in and wants to take a space, they say, fine, sign them up, but you got to do some renovations. You got to make it look better.
yeah,
And that's not just that space, it's that whole section.
well,
and in other words, we could do a formal letter once we've come to agreement of what we're looking for, to send to the existing owners of our commercial areas, to let them know that they now, with future renovations or growth, that they have to submit a preliminary sketch to the planning board.
well, what did they have to do, Wes? Was there any permitting involved in this facade here on Keller Williams?
Well, I mean, not necessarily just a facade, but what they did inside, overall, it required a building permit.
Right.
Yeah.
But they could have left the facade pretty much to match the rundown look of the marketplace, because it is truly a rundown looking shopping center.
Which shopping centers tend to get.
Yeah.
Was this facade done by Aston Properties or was this done by Keller Williams?
I'm guessing it was done like, I don't remember, I'd have to go back and look.
Sure.
I want to say it was Keller Williams.
Yeah, because I can't,
whenever a new business moves into a space, they're the ones that are paying for the upfit,
But
the applicant.
it goes all the way to Starbucks. That look, I mean, dial back one.
Well, that was going to be a CVS, wasn't it?
yeah, it was going to be a drive-through.
Yeah, CVS was going to be there.
Well, no, it does. It stops at
Yeah,
Verizon, doesn't it?
yeah. And also the awnings are also something that's regulated in the towns also,
Mm-hmm.
the material and
Yeah.
et cetera.
Yeah, you wonder why they didn't take that on into the corner.
Yeah.
Anyway, that facade makes that look
Yeah.
completely out of place in a good way. But I don't know, when we got hit with Ashton Properties wanting to, do the marshals and, I mean, there was nothing in place. It says, I mean, our hands were tied. They really were.
What is that little, the ledge up there? That's wood. Is that wood facade and then a wood detail?
Yeah, but it just adds a
Yeah, I know.
decent looking
It gets
line to it.
Yeah, it's a nice place to put a line.
Yeah.
Put a horizontal line.
Yeah,
It's very interesting. I didn't know whether it was masonry or whether it was carpentry.
yeah. Anyway, that's just 10 pictures I took today that I figured would elicit some conversation.
Well, how many of these lots that you've looked at, these areas, could be apartments on top?
The town hasn't issued a permit for any mixed-use development as of today. Oh, no, excuse me. The Saga property is the only one that has mixed use, that's approved as mixed-use group development.
Down
Yeah.
towards-
Well-
just a-
A text amendment has been approved to allow that they submitted. It applies to the whole commercial district. Let me clarify that. But no one has applied for a permit to do it yet.
What are the drawbacks of that? Is that, in other words, everybody needs to have some affordable, well, not like, say that, loot or guardedly. But I don't see why, if you have these commercial areas, why not put some housing on the second floor? If they come in under the height limits.
Well, that would be a challenge. I mean, just that building
Yeah.
right there, if you put a second story on that building, I mean, it squeezes you down so much height-wise.
Yeah, 35 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the last one. Granted, that's in Kitty Hawk, and there was, I mean, it's broken up. That side of Walgreens is broken up with those panels. I'm not quite sure what they're
Yeah.
supposed to look like, if they're supposed to look like shutters or
It's like
windows or something, but it's,
palmed out windows.
yeah, it's got some breaks in there. Granted, it just looks like a big old commercial building.
Yeah.
But it's not all flat wall.
Yeah.
So it's, I think, you know, in these town, standards, you know, there's a lot of talk about the wall space and breaking it up. So that would certainly be something that we would need to have in our standards.
Yeah.
Would be, you gotta, to me, that is the bare minimum for a break. I don't really
Yeah.
even know if that's a break or not. It's all in the same plane.
We put those little diamonds up there, that's interesting, and then we have vertical
Yeah.
joints.
I mean, it's
You know, why
a
is it-
drugstore. But now I just, looking at Nag's Head, and John, you're right. I mean, 28 pages.
Mhm.
What kind of was kind of showing how much teeth you actually can put into design standards. It says, these standards are not, and this is on the front page of Nag's Head, these standards are not intended to limit creativity, but to serve as a useful tool for design professionals to engage in contextual site-specific design. Site design will strive to create a sense of place while maintaining compatibility with adjacent land uses. Sounds good, feels good. Can we legislate something like that? A little bit, maybe. But if you look in these, like the roof pitch for a facade, no less than 4 and 12. I think Kildover Hills said a roof height from the top plate to the ridge could be no less than 6 feet. You know, it's just, there's a lot of meat here, but I'm not quite sure how much, you know, we can control.
What about, all these things have these massive parking lots. What about requiring trees instead of shrubs?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you'd have to,
That would soften, some of these things that you see, just these big old parking lots and then this store.
Yeah.
If you brought in some trees, I think it would help break up the monotony of some of the buildings.
yeah, create like tree islands or,
The developer, doesn't want a tree,
no.
but we do, or I do. Like to see it. It would give a little different effect to the whole property.
Wes, was that change that was made to allow for the mixed-use group developments? Am I correct, that still incorporates that requirement that there be an existing wastewater treatment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so right now, probably the Saga property, is that the only one that meets that?
I think, remember, we went back and we tailored the language about septic. Hang on. Gotta bring it up.
In those, right now, no one could do that at the marketplace. They can't put any kind of residential in or Southern Shores Crossing
Why?
because they don't have an existing wastewater treatment facility.
The marketplace guy.
Lot shall be serviced by an existing community wastewater treatment facility permitted by NCD QDWR. So yes, that would be the only lot, yes, sir.
Well, the marketplace just did that huge rework of wastewater. So if they've got capacity, they don't care where it came from.
I think that was approved by the health department though, and not NCDEQ.
Because it's a low pressure system.
It didn't fall under the it didn't meet the threshold for NCDEQ review.
Huh.
Well, I mean, do we begin this process by, just by consensus saying, well, we want to work on, this color scheme would be one thing, or, percentage of flat wall facade to, amount of glass you can put to, stuff like that. I mean, where do we go?
What, if I may, what I have written down so far that it sounded like you all agreed on is ask for a sketch review. Colors should not be bright. I was thinking like say something like earth tone and natural colors.
Right.
Focus on earth tone, natural
Yeah.
colors.
Limit the number of colors.
Yeah, I've got that too. Hang on one second. Earth tone.
Kill Devil Hills has a glazing and the glazing facade, it says glazing and glazing facades shall compromise not less than 10% nor more than 40% of the facade area. That first picture of wings obviously exceeded any of that, but glazing would be another.
Glazing.
Yeah, the ratio,
Glazing to the horizontal.
Yeah.
To the surface area.
yeah, I mean, I really like Nags Head's idea about requiring windows to look like, sashes,
Yeah.
double hung sashes
Residential.
rather than just big storefronts, but I don't know if that would be appropriate to.
Well, even Wings had a divider down. It
Mhm.
wasn't a big picture
Yeah,
window.
yeah.
So if you had fewer of those,
Yeah.
and I mean, again, I think the word more residential. And then the same way with the roof line, instead of getting into specifics, could we just use that the roof has to have a certain overhang? And it has to conceal all the HVAC equipment. And then versus getting into the pitch of the roof. I mean, as long as the roof comes over, versus, giving
Wouldn't
it that
want a
long.
little flat, I mean,
Yeah.
a 412 doesn't look that bad. You can see, you're able to see the roofing surface on a 412, but you get much shallower than that.
But if they put up a unit up there, it has to be taller.
Oh, sure, yeah. There was one of these three towns said that anything over, I think it was 20 feet, had to have a roof that broke that wall up, that 20-foot wall up. One of the towns had a 20-foot, I can't think which one it was. Yeah, it was in Kidover Hills. Wall elevations greater than 20 feet require a roof facade. And obviously above that, the marketplace would be a good example of those small little shallow pitched metal roofs. They're breaking up a 20-foot wall, but there's wall above the roof.
Or that
hides
finish
the-
board, that nice finishing board. that they can-
Yeah,
Do we have covered walkways in front of the building?
well, the Southern Shores Crossing,
Yeah,
yeah, that would,
but other places.
Yep.
Give me that.
One of the towns says 2/3 of the width of the walking.
Yeah.
Must be covered.
yeah.
That, who's got that?
Probably, I guess it's not exactly.
No, it's duck.
Is it duck?
It's duck.
Well,
Yeah,
I think that's a significant architectural detail.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Say, if you're gonna put in a commercial building, you gotta have a covered walkway.
yeah.
Yeah, and they have 2/3 of the walkway has to be covered.
Or 2/3 of the width. Another
2/3 of the width, yeah.
Another place has a minimum of an 8-foot covered walkway.
Yeah, at least 8, I think.
Yeah.
10 or 12 would be. But anyway.
Yeah.
That's where you wanna go, covered walkway.
Mhm.
Do we want to limit the size to 10,000 square feet?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean,
I guess you have to, then you have to start talking to some people that actually have built places and say, well, the guy's gonna say, I own this thing, but I can't get any kind of tenant.
yeah, I mean, what is the square footage of the marketplace? Do you know?
Well, Marshall's and Rack Room, Marshall's is 24,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Rack Room is 6,000 square feet.
Yeah, so that's 30,000 square feet. I mean, that's on a huge piece of property.
I would have to research and see if you could just put a flat out prohibition on structures over X square feet. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But what the other towns did is said buildings over 100,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Buildings under 100,000
So
square
that was
feet.
Kidover Hills.
Building 25,000 or more
Yeah.
shall follow X, Y, and Z. Buildings 10,000 or less.
That's their rental properties.
Let's see. Yeah, this in Kidover Hills says physical changes shall be provided in building design and roof line, covered walkways at least 8 feet wide with a 4-inch rise for each 12-inch run of pitch roof. So they're all in agreement. Every one of these is the 412 would be the minimum roof pitch. But to me, 2/3 of a covered walkway, I mean, that, I don't understand why they would say 2/3. I mean, I would say if you have a covered walkway, you need to have 8 feet would be about appropriate to let 2 people pass.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
and
you're
it
not-
should be better than that, actually, for commercial.
Yeah.
Because, who knows what's coming in and out of those stores, so it
Mhm.
should be
I don't
significant enough to where you could.
know what the covered walkway would be at Southern Shores Crossing, but it's plenty adequate. It's either 8 or 10 feet.
Mhm.
But that would be something else that I think we could legislate and require as a design standard. Yeah, the Kiddo Hills had a lot of stuff in there, about 100,000 square feet. And actually, they are doing that roof pitch around the new Target. Have you seen the,
Yeah. so-
they are doing that roof pitch right now, and it's long. It needs to have some breaks in it. So I would certainly think that we would require breaks in the vertical facade and also the roof line at X amount of every 50 feet. Because that one at Target is just straight down from one end to the other. It's long, and I don't think it's got breaks in it.
It's typical of their building.
That's Target, yeah.
Yeah.
That's their standard design.
Yeah.
But, a lot of stuff Duck's only 2 pages, Kildover Hills is only 2 pages, but I just, once again, Duck says building facades should be substantially parallel. Well, it should be, we need to have shall be.
Shelby, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of should be's, and it should be compatible. It may be used. We need to stay away from the permissive and do the shalls. Well, now that and then they have language in there that architectural embellishments that aid visual interest to a facade are encouraged. Once again,
What's that?
the town may have encouraged Sandy crossing there, but
Architectural emojis.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously Nags Head gets the prize for what they've got, but I did like that sketch plan review. That was on the second page. So we need to try to figure out how we can legislate something before the design process gets off the ground with any future design work. And then the renovation has to be, I don't know, compatible with would be strong enough language, but we've got to make sure that the renovation doesn't stick out and look completely different than, what.
Yeah, what they presented.
Mhm. I mean, I guess they could do anything they wanted to with Marshalls. They could make that look like, Las Vegas if they wanted to, Caesar's Palace. I mean, there's nothing to stop them.
Yeah.
There really isn't. But moving forward, we need to have a little bit more say in what these standards are going to be.
I think also I think we've mentioned it, but I think we ought to also say that the parking area, which always seems to be more than adequate.
Yeah.
So they need to bring more design into the parking area, not just these little islands.
Is that a state requirement, Wes? Number of spaces per, it is
This town.
town individually.
So maybe you could do, like a trade-off if they brought some of the new, better design elements, so it wasn't just the islands.
Yeah.
But definitely going forward.
Or, like you say, require more than shrubbery and
Yeah. you gotta have some
bedding plants in some of
vertical.
these traffic islands,
vertical.
maybe some larger story trees that would grow to be 25 feet or so.
Yeah, I mean, you need to break that
Yeah,
up. That's
yeah.
just a big flat area.
Yeah. Yeah, Nags Head definitely. They got the most, and that, yeah. Wish Cliff was here, but I'm sure he was in on, doing the points. They got points for, doing different
Yeah.
things, and they got, if they got enough points, they got credit, they could, go a little bit higher on this is in residential stuff, you could go a little bit higher on the roof. You could do a little bit more lot coverage, setbacks was a little bit, but they were working on points, and they allude to it, to the points in here a little bit, but, yeah, theirs is quite lengthy. And, but I like this one thing in here where the traditional Nags Head, they say the traditional Nags Head buildings utilize detailing, and they use strong language here. It says applications shall incorporate one or more of the following detail elements, which we could require, not necessarily these, but exposed rafters, gable brackets, workable shutters, or column trim. Quite sure what that is, but they put shall in there on that one. But they're going for that,
Yeah.
that style, that look. Unfortunately, our horse is out of the barn.
But going forward.
Yeah.
We can create it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then with the renovations, it
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
come to that.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is decide what we want to look like and then, put that down and send the appropriate messages that
Yeah.
we want a site plan, like just a review
Mhm.
before they do the renovations.
The thing that Robert sent out when the Coastal Studies was doing what they're building, wanted their building to look like, and the very last page speaks to the Outer Banks architecture as an eclectic range of imported styles. It's
Yeah.
a pretty good description, I would say. From flat tops to the Nags Head style. So that's what we're up against in our town. I don't know, anybody got any more heartburn on what we get Wes to preliminary start on? I mean,
Yeah, I can go through what I have real quick if y'all.
yeah,
Ask for a sketch review, colors, no bright colors, earth tone and neutral colors preferred. Limit color schemes to 2, or is it?
or just a limit possibly, and just look into what's legal.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't use the word preferred.
No.
I didn't have that. I mean, I don't have that written down. I just said it. So earth tone and neutral color. Limit color schemes to 2 or just a limit. Screen utilities and mechanical units and solid waste receptacles. Buildings should have residential appearance. Renovations have to comply. Glazing of storefronts, covered walkway, potentially 2/3 requirement, 8-foot covered walkway potentially. And going back to that, I assume you just mean for multi-tenant structures. A freestanding building on its own, like a bank or a restaurant,
Right.
doesn't have to have a covered walkway.
Right, this would be,
Yeah.
not
Good
multi,
point.
group development.
Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
or mixed use group
Mixed
development
use group development.
and commercial group development.
And then breaks in facades and roof lines.
Well, I would say, Wes, if you can,
Parking lot.
yeah, and parking,
So was that the number of parking spaces or
if we
trees
can
or
look
both?
at decreasing some, amount of parking spaces because, I mean, it just, everywhere you go, the big commercial site, there just seems to be way more parking.
You could do a formula perhaps of say 100 parking spaces.
Well,
You
that's
need
what we
You need X amount of square footage for greenery,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
200, you need a different amount. So you could go up, do some type of formula that we could agree upon or look into.
And more than just shrubs.
Yeah,
We want to get some vertical
Yeah,
outlets.
yeah.
some,
And I think an easy way would be different size lots require different size greenery. So therefore do a formula perhaps.
Talking about greenery, we've had a couple of new constructions going on in Chickahaw where they've just cleared the lots. Is there anything that we can do to keep our maritime forest that, a builder, kind of has noticed that he needs to keep a few trees and they're tagged?
age-old question.
I've done 2 ordinances for
Right.
that. 2. I've written 2. And they've never gone anyplace. The one, we had a public hearing and the builders talked against it naturally. Well, the builders were against it. But we had a public hearing, and it's going back years ago when we had the Southern Shores actually had a vegetation committee. And we presented that, and then what happened, it was done, it was written, I still have it, and the then mayor refused to bring it up or sign it. I still have it with his name down the bottom, but he never signed it. Still have that one.
That's a,
Yeah, and then the second one was done by the Civic Association, and we wrote that. That was a bear to write. We presented that, and there was a couple errors in it, which we could have fixed. But then the Civic Association somehow, I'm not going to say, somehow they decided to withdraw it on a vote of something like 5-4, even though the one person, the 5, nobody saw for 3 months before or after. So that's a whole new other story.
Well,
But it's been presented twice, and what it was, it's basically to cut out clear cutting, maintain, the setbacks to some degree. If there's reasons for clear cutting, yeah, that's not a problem.
well,
You had to
I
present it.
think people bucket for different reasons. I
Yeah.
mean, some people think it's a safety issue. They don't want a tree close to their house,
Mhm.
and it's their right.
Yeah.
And I hate it too, but there are some instances where I've seen every tree taken off a lot. And I could show you that lot today. There's one on South Dogwood Trail. And they did a beautiful job putting it back. But they took every single tree.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's kind of, and Elizabeth will agree, it's a property right.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And I'm with you, I empathize, but I don't
Very
think,
good.
certainly in commercial design standards, we need to say, okay, you go in and you're doing all this site work. You need to put back some of the trees that you took out in some way, shape, or form.
Give it some aesthetic value.
But what I would suggest, Wes, is, certainly don't want to, get it in the form of a ZTA just yet, but maybe clean up what we've talked about tonight. And we'll continue on with this at our next meeting if we have time, our next regular meeting. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you all for the input.
All right, well, Tony's got to leave and I do too, so looking at the agenda, what,
Should you ask the public for comment?
yeah, no public comment tonight, I'm afraid. So, anybody have anything planning board comment wise? I guess everybody knows that Linda has had a medical event and she's going to be out for a while, so I think Jan will probably move up for the near future. Take it from there. I don't have anything. Wes, you have any announcements?
I do have some announcements, but also the town clerk brought to my attention that earlier on the agenda, when we had the approval of APA-2201 order, there wasn't a motion and a second. It was just kind of a majority vote. So we need to go back to that. And out of the three of you, someone needs to make a motion, another a second, and then out of the three vote.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for the order affirming the decision of, what did I sign? What is, sorry, I had it written down and then it's gone. I affirm the decision. October 5th, we had a hearing with the Board of Adjustments concerning APA 22-01. And I'd like to make a motion that we approve it's a true and accurate representation of the hearing that we held on October 5th.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Thank you. With respect to announcements, Mr. Chairman, the next meeting will be a special meeting. I sent out the information for that meeting today. That will be held on December 1st at 1 o'clock. The meeting after that, the next regular meeting would be, or will be, December 19th at 5 o'clock. And we have another variance application. This pertains to property located on Jingite Trail and pertains to the length of a pier. Then we also may have commercial design standards, and we may have some more 160D as well. I need to get that back and more of that back in front of you.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting of November 21st.
Ed seconds. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.
All those in favor?
I'm sorry.